What walks in the shadows of the American wilderness, whispering your name when the wind grows still? What lingers in the flicker of a mirror, daring you to speak its name thrice? Across the vast tapestry of this land, from desolate forests to urban legends whispered in dimly lit rooms, there exist stories of creatures that defy reason, entities born of fear, sorrow, and the unyielding mysteries of the human spirit. These are not mere tales to thrill. They are echoes of ancient truths, warnings woven into the fabric of cultures, speaking to the primal forces that still stir in our souls. Welcome, seekers of the unseen, to a journey into the heart of America's most terrifying legends: the Wendigo, Skinwalker, Bloody Mary, and La Llorona. These are not just monsters of campfire stories, but archetypes of the human condition, embodiments of hunger, betrayal, vengeance, and loss. In this video, we will unravel their origins, peel back the layers of their myths, and explore the esoteric wisdom they hold. What do these creatures reveal about the fears that haunt us? How do they mirror the shadows within? And what can we learn from these chilling tales to navigate the unseen forces in our own lives? We'll begin by delving into the historical and philosophical roots of these legends, tracing their origins through ancient traditions and cultural fears. Then we'll explore each creature in depth. First, the ravenous Wendigo and the shape-shifting Skinwalker, followed by the spectral Bloody Mary and the weeping La Llorona. Along the way, we'll uncover practical spiritual techniques to confront the energies these stories evoke, offering tools to protect, reflect, and grow. By the end, you'll see these tales not as mere frights, but as profound teachings, guiding us through the mysteries of existence.
In the dim light of humanity's dawn, when the world was wilder and the veil between the seen and unseen thinner, stories were born to make sense of the chaos. The creatures we call Wendigo, Skinwalker, Bloody Mary, and La Llorona are not mere folklore. They are vessels of ancient wisdom, carrying the weight of human fear, morality, and the eternal struggle between light and shadow. To understand them, we must step back into the mists of time, where indigenous traditions, colonial anxieties, and spiritual reckonings wove a tapestry of terror that still haunts us today. These beings are not just monsters. They are mirrors, reflecting the consequences of transgressing sacred boundaries and the perils of losing one's humanity. The Wendigo emerges from the oral traditions of the Algonquian peoples, stretching across the Great Lakes and into the frozen north. In their stories, the Wendigo is not merely a creature, but a warning, a manifestation of greed and cannibalism born in the harshest winters when survival demanded unthinkable acts. The Algonquian worldview, deeply rooted in balance with nature, saw the Wendigo as a spiritual consequence, a curse that transforms a person into a ravenous beast when they succumb to selfish hunger. This aligns with esoteric teachings across cultures, the idea that unchecked desire consumes the soul. The 17th century Jesuit missionaries, encountering these tales, interpreted them through their own lens of sin, amplifying the Wendigo's terror as a demonic force. Yet, beneath this colonial filter lies a profound truth. The Wendigo embodies the shadow of excess, a lesson in the spiritual cost of taking more than one needs. Similarly, the Skinwalker, or Yinadloshi in Navajo tradition, arises from the deserts of the American Southwest, where the Dene, Navajo people, have long guarded their spiritual practices with reverence. The Skinwalker is a witch, a human who has broken sacred taboos, often by harming kin, to gain supernatural powers, including the ability to shapeshift. In Navajo cosmology, Harmony, or Nanga, is paramount, and the skinwalker represents its antithesis, betrayal of community for personal gain. This echoes ancient philosophical concepts like the Hermetic principle of as above, so below, where inner corruption manifests outwardly. The skinwalker's ability to wear another's form speaks to the fear of deception, a universal anxiety reflected in myths from the Greek Proteus to medieval European doppelgangers.
Bloody Mary and La Llorona, while distinct, share a thread of feminine tragedy and retribution rooted in colonial and post-colonial Americas. Bloody Mary, a specter summoned by mirrors, may trace back to European divination rituals where young women gazed into reflective surfaces to glimpse their fates. In America, her legend morphed, possibly influenced by tales of Mary Worth or even Queen Mary I, whose bloody reign left a cultural scar. She embodies the fear of confronting one's own reflection, literally and metaphorically, forcing us to face guilt or hidden truths. La Llorona, the weeping woman, stems from Mexican folklore, likely a syncretism of Aztec goddess Cihuacoatl's lamentations and Spanish colonial tales of betrayed women. Her story of drowning her children in grief or vengeance reflects the pain of loss and the consequences of despair, resonating with universal archetypes of the grieving mother like the Greek Niobe. Philosophically, these creatures are archetypes of the Jungian shadow, the repressed, darker aspects of the psyche. The Wendigo is our gluttony, the Skinwalker our betrayal, Bloody Mary our unacknowledged guilt, La Llorona our inconsolable sorrow. Across cultures, such stories serve as esoteric warnings, teaching us to honor boundaries, community, and self-awareness. They remind us that the spiritual world is not separate from the physical, but intertwined where actions ripple into eternity. Practically, these tales urge us to cultivate mindfulness and integrity. For example, indigenous practices like smudging with sage or cedar, still used today, can cleanse negative energies, while meditative reflection can help us confront our inner shadows before they manifest as external horrors. These legends, born from ancient soils and carried through centuries, are not just stories, they are guides. They teach us that fear is a teacher, and the monsters we dread are often born within. As we move forward, we'll explore the Wendigo and Skinwalker, unraveling their mysteries and the lessons they hold for us today.
Imagine a winter so brutal that the world itself seems to starve. A forest cloaked in snow, where the wind howls like a predator and survival demands a price no soul should pay. This is the cradle of the Wendigo, a creature born from the Algonquian people's oral traditions, stretching from the Great Lakes to the Canadian tundra. The Wendigo is no ordinary beast. It is a towering, emaciated figure with eyes like burning coals, antlers jagged as broken promises, and a heart of ice that beats with an insatiable hunger. Once human, it is transformed by the act of cannibalism, a taboo so profound it severs one's humanity. But the Wendigo is more than a cautionary tale about starvation. It's a spiritual allegory for greed, the kind that devours not just the body but the soul. In Algonquian lore, the Wendigo is both a creature and a curse, a person who consumes human flesh, whether out of desperation or malice, risks becoming possessed by the Wendigo spirit, their humanity stripped away as they grow taller, hungrier, and more monstrous. The 19th century explorer John Ray documented stories of Wendigo psychosis among trappers where starvation drove men to paranoia and violence, as if the spirit itself whispered in their minds. Esoterically, the Wendigo represents the shadow of excess. Think of it as a black hole within, consuming everything in its orbit. It's the unchecked desire for wealth,
power or control that leaves us hollow, never satisfied. The Wendigo asks, "What are you feeding that cannot be sated?" Practically, the Wendigo's lesson is one of restraint and mindfulness. Indigenous teachings emphasize living in harmony with nature, taking only what is needed. A simple practice to counter the Wendigo's energy is gratitude journaling. Daily reflections on what sustains you, grounding you in sufficiency rather than lack. Smudging with cedar, a sacred plant in Algonquian traditions, can cleanse spaces of negative energies, while meditative visualization, picturing a warm golden light filling your core, can starve the inner hunger for more. The Wendigo warns us, feed the spirit, not the void.
Now, shift your gaze to the arid mesas of the American Southwest, where the Navajo people speak in hushed tones of the Yi-Nalbloshi, the skinwalker. This is no mere beast, but a human who has chosen darkness, a witch who breaks the sacred bonds of kinship to wield forbidden power. By committing unspeakable acts, often harming a family member, a skinwalker gains the ability to shapeshift into animals like coyotes or owls, or even mimic the voices of loved ones to lure victims. Their eyes glow in the dark, their movements are unnaturally swift, and their presence carries a chill that defies the desert heat. To encounter a skinwalker is to face betrayal itself, cloaked in a familiar form. In Navajo culture, harmony, hojanga, is the cornerstone of life, and the skinwalker is its antithesis, a human who trades community for selfish power. Stories collected in the 20th century by ethnographers like Clyde Kluckhohn describe skinwalkers as outcasts, often driven by envy or vengeance, using their powers to sow fear. Esoterically, the skinwalker embodies the shadow of deception, both of others and oneself. Like the alchemical concept of the false self, it wears masks to hide its true nature, reminding us that betrayal begins within. The skinwalker's shape-shifting mirrors our own tendency to adopt false personas, betraying our authentic selves for approval or gain. To protect against the skinwalker's energy, Navajo traditions emphasize spiritual vigilance. Wearing turquoise, a sacred stone, is believed to ward off malevolent forces, while prayers to the holy people reinforce communal bonds. A practical technique is shadow work, journaling to confront hidden motives or resentments, asking, "Where am I deceiving myself or others?" Grounding exercises like walking barefoot on the earth reconnect you to authenticity, countering the skinwalker's false facades. The skinwalker teaches us to trust our intuition, to look beyond appearances, and to honor the sacred ties that bind us. These creatures, the Wendigo and Skinwalker, are not just horrors of the night, but guides through the labyrinth of the human psyche. Their stories urge us to confront our inner shadows before they take form. As we move forward, we'll explore Bloody Mary and La Llorona, diving deeper into the mysteries of guilt and grief.
Picture a darkened room, a single candle flickering, and a mirror that seems to hold more than your reflection. You whisper her name, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, and wait, heart pounding, for something to emerge. This is the ritual of Bloody Mary, a legend that thrives in the whispers of schoolchildren and the daring of sleepovers across America. She is a specter, her face bloodied and eyes hollow, summoned by those brave or foolish enough to call her. But who is she, and why does her name carry such dread? Her story is a tapestry of fragmented truths, woven from European divination rituals, historical figures, and the primal fear of facing oneself. Some trace Bloody Mary to Mary Worth, a supposed witch executed in colonial America, her spirit trapped in mirrors to haunt those who summon her. Others link her to Queen Mary I of England, whose brutal persecution of Protestants earned her the name Bloody Mary, her ghost allegedly lingering in reflective surfaces. Folklorists suggest her roots lie in older traditions, young women gazing into mirrors to divine their futures, a practice recorded in 17th century Europe. In America, these rituals morphed into a game of courage, where chanting her name invites a confrontation with the unknown. Esoterically, Bloody Mary is the shadow of guilt and self-judgment, like the alchemical process of Negredo, where one faces the darkest aspects of the psyche. She forces us to look at what we hide, regrets, shame, or truths we dare not admit. The nuance of Bloody Mary lies in her ambiguity. Is she a vengeful spirit or a projection of our own fears? Unlike the Wendigo's clear moral warning, she exists in the liminal space of doubt, where intention matters. Summoning her carelessly, as urban legends warn, invites chaos. But approaching her with respect, acknowledging the mirror as a tool of self-reflection, can be transformative. Practically, you can harness her energy through mirror work. Sit before a mirror, light a candle, and gaze softly into your own eyes, asking, "What truth am I avoiding?" Journal the insights that arise and burn sage afterward to clear residual energies. This practice, rooted in both modern witchcraft and psychological shadow work, aligns with Bloody Mary's lesson: to face yourself is to conquer fear.
Now, listen closely. Do you hear the faint sobbing carried on the night wind? Along the rivers of Mexico and the American Southwest, La Llorona, the weeping woman, wanders, her cries a lament for the children she drowned in a fit of despair or rage. Her story is a haunting blend of colonial pain and indigenous roots, likely tied to the Aztec goddess Cihuacuazl, who wailed for her people's suffering. In the modern tale, La Llorona is a mother, often named Maria, who, betrayed by her lover, drowns her children in a river, only to be cursed to wander eternally, seeking them. Those who hear her cries, especially near water, risk being drawn into her sorrow, a warning to children to stay safe and to adults to heed the consequences of unchecked emotions. La Llorona's story varies. In some versions, she acts out of vengeance, in others, grief. This duality reflects her complexity. She is both victim and perpetrator, a mother undone by loss, yet a danger to the living. Her legend, documented in Mexican oral traditions and popularized in 19th century ballads, resonates with the archetype of the grieving mother, akin to the Greek Niobe or the Irish Banshee. Esoterically, La Llorona embodies unresolved grief, the kind that festers into destruction. Her presence near water, rivers, lakes, or even tears symbolizes the fluid, overwhelming nature of sorrow, which can drown us if left unaddressed. Her story challenges us to process pain rather than let it consume us. Practically, La Llorona's lesson is one of emotional release. Rituals like writing letters to your grief, expressing what you've lost or regret, and then burning or burying them can symbolize letting go, a practice rooted in Mexican spiritual traditions. Water-based cleansing, such as soaking in a bath infused with rosemary or lavender, can soothe the heart, aligning with La Llorona's aquatic essence. Meditate near a stream or fountain, visualizing your sorrows flowing away, and affirm your strength to move forward. Her cry reminds us, grief is inevitable, but healing is a choice. Bloody Mary and La Llorona, though born of different worlds, share a truth. The past shapes us, but it need not bind us. Their stories urge us to confront guilt and release grief, using their spectral presence as catalysts for growth. As we prepare to conclude, we'll weave these threads together, offering a path to integrate their wisdom into our lives.
As the shadows recede and the echoes of ancient tales linger, we stand at the crossroads of fear and wisdom, where the Wendigo, Skinwalker, Bloody Mary, and La Llorona have guided us through the labyrinth of the human soul. These are not mere monsters to haunt our nightmares, but teachers carved from the raw essence of human experience, greed, betrayal, guilt, and grief. Their stories, woven from indigenous wisdom, colonial scars, and universal archetypes, reveal a profound truth. The most terrifying creatures are not those that lurk in the dark, but those born within us when we lose our way. Yet in their terror lies a map to reclaim our balance, to face our shadows, and to walk with greater awareness through the mysteries of life. We began in the frozen forests with the Wendigo, whose insatiable hunger warns us to temper our desires and live in harmony with the world. The Skinwalker, slinking through the desert night, taught us to honor authenticity and community, lest we betray our own essence. Bloody Mary, staring back from the mirror, dared us to confront our hidden truths, transforming guilt into self-awareness. And La Llorona, weeping by the river's edge, urged us to release our grief before it drowns us. Together, these legends form a tapestry of esoteric wisdom, reminding us that fear is not an end but a beginning, a call to look within, to heal, and to grow. Now, what will you do with these lessons? Begin with small, intentional steps. Practice gratitude to starve the Wendigo's hunger. Journal your shadows to unmask the Skinwalker's deception. Gaze into a mirror to meet Bloody Mary's truth, and release your sorrows to soothe La Llorona's cries. These are not just rituals, but acts of courage, aligning you with the ancient wisdom that has guided humanity through countless nights. Try smudging your space with sage or cedar, as indigenous traditions teach, to clear stagnant energies. Meditate on your intentions, grounding yourself in the present to avoid the traps of excess or betrayal. Reflect on these stories not as distant myths, but as living guides, whispering truths about the human condition. As you leave this journey, carry this thought: the monsters we fear are but reflections of our untended selves, waiting for us to listen. Dare to heed their call, for in facing them you uncover the light within. What shadow will you confront today? Step forward, seeker, and let the wisdom of these terrifying creatures illuminate your path.